Looking good? Yeah, I think this will do. Welcome to MakeGains. Thank you for joining us today for another episode. It's that time of the year again, and today we're going to be talking about vacations. Let's jump into it.
Sometimes you just need to put it on the credit card and take that vacation.
The question, did that happen, begs the question, what do you mean by happen? Because when you are dealing with fundamental realities and you pose a question, you have to understand that the reality of the concepts of your question, when you're digging that deep, are just as questionable as what you're questioning.
So vacation debt, what do you guys think? Is it okay to spend money that you don't have to go on vacation? We're going to talk about it, but this lady at the beginning said that sometimes you just got to put it on a credit card, right? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. I do think that, there may be some times where it may be okay to spend money to go on vacation when you're in debt, but I don't believe that it's okay to go into debt to go on vacation. Okay? Many people, I think, would disagree. And that, I don't think anybody's been commenting on this video that they disagree because people don't want to say that out loud. But many people do that with their actions. Okay? A large percentage of people are willing to go into debt to go on vacation. So a recent survey from this year showed that 30% of Americans are willing to go into debt to go on vacation. Now, this is down from last year, which is good news. My guess is because the economy's been feeling a little more rough this year. There's been more layoffs. So that's probably why. But it's still amazing that almost 1 in 3 people are willing to go into debt to go on vacation.
This is my saving strategy. I think it's going to get me really far. It's really mind over matter. Okay. So I was going to, on a whim, book a round trip flight to Australia because my friend has a work trip. We talked it through. Didn't make a ton of sense. $1,300. Let's meet in Hawaii instead. LA to Oahu, $300 round trip. Okay. So I was prepared to put $1,300 on the credit card. Now I only have to put $300. Where'd that $1,000 go? It stayed in my pocket. So I think it's like prepare for more debt, spend less, save, stay fly.
It's just mind over matter, guys. I don't mind and debt doesn't matter. But I think this is a funny example of the way people can justify things in their head, right? So she was going to spend $1,300 and, oh, now it's only $300. So I just saved $1,000. Well, can you get interest on that $1,000? Is that invested somewhere? Heck no. That's $1,000 she didn't put on her credit card. So she didn't save anything. She just made a little bit smarter of a decision. Yeah, if you want to feel good about yourself, start looking at trips to Fiji and then go plan the trip you originally want to go on and you save thousands of dollars. It makes perfect sense, right? Everybody should do it. This is how you get ahead in life.
Should you go on vacation if you're in debt? Let's talk about it. Clearly, this commenter right here has strong opinions about the fact that my family and I are taking a vacation while we also are trying to pay off debt. And I get it. I totally understand. I had the same mindset for a very long time. The mindset that, vacation is a privilege. If you're in debt, you shouldn't go on vacation. I totally get it. And for a long time, I agreed with this sentiment. But something happened 7 years ago that actually caused me to change my mindset a little bit. My mother passed away 7 years ago, and that completely changed me. It was a moment in time where my mindset completely shifted and everything changed for me. And in that time, I remember realizing that at the end of the day, when I am gone, the only thing my kids are going to have are memories of me, memories of their dad, memories of our time together as a family. And so at that moment in my life, creating memories became something that was more important than anything else that I had. So yes, we did make a conscious choice as a family to spend a couple of $1,000s to go on a family vacation to the Outer Banks for 1 week instead of putting that money onto credit card debt. However, spending a few $1,000s to create memories with my kids is more important to me at this point in my life than paying off debt a few months earlier. You see, the reality is the $3,000 that we would have used to put on credit card debt this month will go on the credit card debt next month. So we're only delaying our payoff by 1 month. And for us, that was worth it to create the memories with our kids.
Well, the good news about this wonderful country we live in is that we all get to make our own choices. And while this is a little bit more of a gray area, right? Because she is doing some good things. She's paying off debt. If she was going into debt for her groceries and she was going into debt, for her clothes and whatever, and she had a car payment and all that, I would be disagreeing with her heavily here. The fact that she has been paying off debt and is taking a minute to reward herself, maybe not the worst. I would say don't use debt to go on vacation. So, fundamentally, I disagree with this, but I think you could justify it a little more, being that she is delaying her payoff by 1 month. I do get the making memories with your kids thing. I do think everyone should make memories with their children and families. I don't think we should be so much of a Scrooge that we're unwilling to spend money to go on vacation. So that is something a lot of people, especially strong savers, have a hard time letting go of, right? Is, hey, we're going to go out to this nice restaurant. We're going to enjoy it. It's really hard for me to go to an expensive restaurant whenever I know that I can cook things at home for, a fifth of the price. But making memories is valuable. I would have to say, though, that you can make memories without going to the Outer Banks, North Carolina. Okay. You can take a week off. You can have vacation. You can do it at home. They call it staycation. You can do that with your kids. You can plan out really fun days to do things near your house. You can pack a picnic lunch. You can drive an hour or two and do things that they've never done before because you don't normally go do activities that far away. And you can plan something new every day of the week. That's a good way to do it. You'll still build memories with your kids. It may not have seashells involved, but it could have something else. Okay, it could have walking barefooted through a creek. It could have skipping rocks at a lake. It could be going fishing. There's so many things that almost everyone has access to within an hour drive of their house. So think about that. Another good way to do this is you can have AI be a trip planner for you. So you can go into ChatGPT and say, I'm planning on taking a week vacation. Here's where I live. Plan for me an itinerary to do with my kids. If you have limitations as far as physical limitations, you can say, hey, I can't walk more than half a mile, and plan for me activities to do every day of the week that don't involve spending a lot of money, but would be good for building memories. And here's my zip code, and it'll do it. It'll plan it for you and it'll give you some great ideas. And then if you don't like it, you can ask it to do it again. So I really recommend doing something like that over spending $3,000 on your trip to the beach. And then next year, whenever your debt's paid off, next year you can spend $4,000 on an extra special trip to the beach and do all of the things. Okay. But only do that whenever you're able to save money and whenever your debt is paid off.
Listen, I love Disney and Disney World as much as the next person. Some of you don't like that I like it, but I do. But this survey came out, you guys. 45% of families are going into debt to go to Disney. Now listen, here's the thing. It is not a rite of passage into humanity to go to Disney World. But as parents, that's what we kind of tend to believe. It's like Disney World is like this thing you have to do. Now, is it great and is it fun? Absolutely. But save up and pay cash. Do not go financially backwards to go to Disney World, okay? It is not worth the stress. It is not worth the lack of sleep that you're going to have to be thinking about this bill that you'll be paying for months and months and months. Instead, be proactive. Save if you want to go. It's great. Just have a plan and say, hey, we're going to save up X amount per month in order to do this trip. But with vacations, regardless, you guys, the best ones are the ones that don't follow you home in the form of a bill. So save up and pay cash and enjoy Mickey that way. It may take you a little longer, but that's okay.
She's spot on. Do y'all know how much Disney costs? So for a family of four to do the frugal trip to Disney is $6,463. You heard me right. $6,463. No wonder so many people are going into debt for that. That's insane. That's why I've never taken my kids to Disney. Oh, the moderate tier, $8,912 for a family of four. The deluxe tier, $15,559. That is insane. So $15,559 for a week. And that includes an upscale hotel and dining. So all those prices included hotel, park tickets, and meals. So if you're flying, then it's going to be even more than that. This is crazy stuff, y'all.
One of the top 3 reasons 65% of Americans don't go on vacation or use their vacation days is the stress of planning a trip. Let me tell you what it really is. The stress of paying for the trip. They start planning, and then they realize we can't afford this. The stress is financial, so plan for it. Get out of debt. Get an emergency fund. Put yourself in a position where your life isn't so stressed out that you feel like you got to overplan, overpay for something. If your life is peaceful and healthy, then you don't have to have the 10-day Disney cruise. You can do something a lot more reasonable for your budget.
Yeah, stress of paying for it. That's the reason why a third of Americans are willing to go into debt, just because they can't pay for it. So they're doing things that are too extravagant and they're spending too much money. They're wanting to go out to eat every night. They're staying in a fancy hotel. So you got to be careful with this stuff. It adds up quickly. And if you go into debt for that, it's a large amount of debt. So check this out. This blew my mind. The average vacation for a family of 4, average per person is $7,249. So you're talking $28,000 if you go by the overall average. I know it wouldn't be that much because families are normally going to share accommodations and stuff. So I would say the more realistic average, you're looking at $5,000 to $15,000 for a week-long vacation for a family of 4. But this is so expensive. If you look at for a single person, okay, single person, average vacation, $7,249. Average price for a spring break trip for one person, $8,306. That hurts. So if you think about how much that costs, you need to, if you're in debt, then you have to come up with ways to decrease that cost. There are a lot of different ways to do that. When I was a kid, my parents didn't have much money at all. And so what did we do? Well, we went to the beach and we camped. So campsites are pretty cheap. Tents are pretty cheap. For what you pay for one night in a hotel, you could get a campsite for a whole week. And you could probably buy a tent too. So there are ways to do it if you're willing to make some sacrifices where you can still go to that same spot. You can still build some awesome memories. Your memories are not going to involve a 5-star hotel, but they'll involve all the same people. They can involve all the same activities. Okay. And it'll actually probably be more fun because they'll remember doing things like the campfire and putting up the tent. If you have little kids especially, they love this stuff. So think about ways that you can do it even cheaper. My wife and I bought a timeshare, which is not something I normally would recommend, but we bought a timeshare secondhand market. Okay. And so we paid, we paid probably a 20th of what it would cost us to buy the timeshare in one of those presentations where they sell them for $20,000 or $30,000. And in doing it that way, we can take a week-long vacation several times a year if we plan ahead and plan it right. And our accommodations, the average accommodations doing it the way we did it are about $500 to $600 per week. And that's for a 2-bedroom condo. And, we've stayed in places like Destin and places like Hilton Head, South Carolina. So beautiful beaches, plenty of space, and like way more space than a hotel would have. And we've loved doing it that way, and we've saved a ton of money doing it that way. I can do a separate video someday on how to do that and what it actually looks like to get a timeshare, and then how to do it without sitting in a presentation. And never buy a timeshare in a presentation because you're going to get ripped off. Almost everybody who buys a timeshare in a presentation, they end up not being able to use it on the weeks that they want. They're buying it in a place that they wouldn't want to go to every year. And then you get into the timeshare markets where you can trade your weeks and stuff. And, they're the amount of points or the value that the week you bought has is next to nothing. So you end up being able to only take vacations and off weeks. So it's just a bad idea. So if you were thinking about that, don't do it. Okay. But I will talk to you at some point about how I did mine.
Hi, I am the girl that got scammed into buying a $30,000 vacation package. Or did I get scammed? Because that's right, we're in Costa Rica. Now I will say, for those who don't remember the story, my boyfriend and I, we went to the DR last year and we got encouraged into purchasing a $30,000 vacation package. The details are, it started at $30,000. We got all these like free weeks, discounted prices, et cetera, all these perks. We talked them down to $17K. We bought that package and then next day had buyer's remorse. We tried to cancel, which you could cancel within 5 days. And they ended up giving us everything that we had talked about for $5,000. So we said, yeah, we'll do it. There were a lot of comments saying that we are so dumb and that we got scammed. And let me just tell you what the situation is. We kind of got scammed. No, I'm kidding. We basically prepaid for a vacation. That is what this membership is. I'm not going to say which one it is, but a lot of resorts offer something similar to this. It's kind of like a timeshare, but essentially what it is prepaying for discounted vacations. So we're in Costa Rica. It's been fantastic. We did get it at an incredibly discounted price. Would we do this again after the membership is up in 5 years? Probably not. We're not really all-inclusive people though, so it's not really our vibe. Has it been absolutely stunning? Yeah. Yeah, it has been. Would we sign up again? No. They did try to get us to upgrade and we just stuck to our guns. We were like, we're not doing this again. So thank you all for the encouragement, and this is your update. Yes, we are on vacation. For free? No. But heavily discounted? Yes.
I'm not sure that that's heavily discounted because you can get an all-inclusive place for, my wife and I went to the Dominican Republic last year, stayed in an all-inclusive resort. It was beautiful, right on the beach. And the food was amazing. Like, we had this awesome steak every night for dinner. And it was $1,500 for our place for both. That was for two of us. So like $750 each. And we loved it. And for that price, now that was a deal that I found. I don't know that you can always do that, but you can always go for $3,000 or less, right? So if you do the math on that, she could go on an all-inclusive vacation at a place of her choosing on a week of her choosing every year for way less than what she paid. And I love the part, her and her boyfriend went back to cancel it and, under the 5-day guarantee, and because they had buyer's remorse, and then ended up giving them another $5,000 to get extras. So be very, very careful with these kind of things, guys. This is another reason why I said don't sit through those presentations because these guys, they do it for a reason. They sell it to a lot of people and they make it sound really good. And they don't have to tell you the truth in there. Okay. The truth is on the thing you sign, but they can tell you whatever they want. And there's no repercussions for that. With this, a prepaid vacation package, this is a whole different thing because with a timeshare, at least you get to keep it. You do have yearly maintenance fees and stuff, but those are deeded. You can pass them on to your kids. So if you had a really nice timeshare, you get to use it every year. So be really careful for this, guys. I will tell you, there's a lot of ways that you can have discounted vacations. If you're willing to do some different things, like I mentioned, camping, there's also I've heard of people renting RVs. We were looking at going up to Glacier Falls National Park, and most of the places we found were crazy expensive. I did end up finding, though, that there are some RV parks where local people to that area can meet you at the RV campground with their RV, and you can rent their RV from them. They'll set it up and everything. You get a place to stay in a park right on the national park. And it ends up being fairly inexpensive. It's still not cheap, but it's way cheaper than renting a house there or staying in a hotel and paying for a package for a week. So I would challenge you to figure out ways that you can save money on vacations. The other thing is when you go on vacations, you don't have to go out to eat every night. Okay. So what you want to make sure that you do is that each month you're budgeting for your vacations. Then when it comes time to go, you've got money set aside for your vacation. If the cost of your vacation is more than the money you have budgeted, guess what? You don't do that vacation. Okay. You do something else. But you also need to think about all the other expenses that come into play whenever you're getting ready to go on vacation. So a lot of people like to go and buy all these little accessories and stuff to take with them. And then you're going to want to do things when you get there, right? So there's little excursions, or you want to rent kayaks, or you want to rent bikes, or whatever it is. Plan for all those things, because you're going to get there and want to do it. And if you didn't save and plan well in advance, then you end up being one of those 1 in 3 people that go into debt for vacations. So do that, plan ahead, budget, and then plan your trip accordingly and make sure that you're thinking about it. But what I was about to say was you can do things like only eat out once or twice. You can cook your own food there. Get a place that has a kitchen, and that way you can run to whatever the local grocery store is. You can buy things for the week. What my wife will do is she'll plan our meals so she knows exactly what we're eating every night of the week. And she does stuff that our whole family loves, and so we look forward to those meals on vacation because they're really good and we like them. So you can do things like that to save money. If you want to go out and eat, great. Go out and eat. You should enjoy your vacation. But you just want to make sure that you have money planned for it. So if you're going to go out to eat every night, then maybe you don't rent bikes, or maybe you don't go kayaking, or whatever it was you're going to do. Just make sure that you're making those trade-offs, plan in advance, and make those gains. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to our channel. We're all about making gains in your personal and financial life. And I will see you next time.